My child, this cannot wait. I am speaking to you now because you are standing on the edge of losing everything, and most will never realize it until it is too late. I did not interrupt your moment by accident, and I did not allow these words to reach you casually. I am calling to you with urgency because the ground beneath you is shifting, even if your eyes cannot yet see it. You feel a strange pull in your chest right now, a pressure that tells you this is different, heavier, more serious than the countless voices you scroll past every day. That is because this moment is not noise. This is rescue. This is mercy reaching for you before the fall, before the silence, before regret settles in like a weight you cannot lift. Do not assume this message will return to you. Do not tell yourself you can come back later, or that you will listen when you have more time, more clarity, more energy. I allowed you to see this once, because this moment is your escape, and 99% will ignore it without realizing what they are turning away from. They will shrug, they will doubt, they will mock the urgency, and they will continue as if nothing was said. But you, my child, you feel it. You know something is pressing in on your spirit, something that will not wait for comfort or convenience. This is the window I have opened for you, and windows do not remain open forever. Some close quietly, without warning, and those who hesitated only realize it when the air changes and the opportunity is gone. If you leave now, you will convince yourself it was nothing. You will say it was just another message, just another voice, just another emotional moment. You will distract yourself, fill your mind with lesser things, and silence the unease by staying busy. But later, when the loss comes, when something precious slips from your hands, when peace disappears and confusion takes its place, you will remember this moment. You will remember that I tried to warn you. You will remember the exact feeling you had right now, the sense that you should have stayed, listened, responded. I do not say this to threaten you. I say it because I love you enough to tell you the truth before the consequences arrive. I am desperately trying to save you, not to scare you, but because what is coming will expose who listened and who did not. A time is approaching when comfort will no longer hide emptiness, when routine will no longer protect you from collapse, and when excuses will no longer shield you from the results of delay. Many will be caught unprepared, not because they were unloved, but because they refused to listen when love spoke urgently. I see paths converging right now, decisions forming quietly in your habits, your thoughts, your silences. Every small choice you make is leading somewhere, and some roads, once taken, cannot be reversed without great pain. This is not for everyone. That is why the urgency feels personal, why it feels as though these words are aimed directly at you and no one else. I do not shout like this for every soul. I speak this way when something matters deeply, when time has become narrow, when the cost of ignoring my voice has grown too high to stay gentle. This is your only chance to hear what I am about to say, not because I will stop loving you, but because moments of divine interruption are rare, and they come with responsibility. I see what you have been pushing aside. I see the quiet compromises you call harmless, the delays you label as wisdom, the inner alarms you keep muting because responding would require change. You have told yourself there is still time, that nothing is urgent, that you will deal with it later. But later is not guaranteed, and comfort is not the same as safety. The enemy does not rush you into destruction. He lulls you into sleep. He convinces you that nothing is wrong until everything is already gone. That is why I am speaking now, before damage becomes destiny. You are closer to losing something precious than you realize. It may not be visible yet, It may not have a name, but it is forming, slowly, silently, beneath the surface of your life. Peace, clarity, purpose, protection, intimacy with me, the sensitivity of your spirit, the sharpness of your discernment, these things can erode without noise. Most people do not wake up one day and lose everything at once. They lose it gradually, by ignoring moments like this one. I know you are tired. I know part of you wants to rest, to stop thinking, to stop feeling the weight of responsibility. You have been carrying more than you admit, and ignoring this message might feel easier than facing what it demands. But rest does not come from avoidance. True rest comes from alignment, from obedience, from stepping into what I am calling you to do instead of running from it. I am not asking you to panic. I am asking you to pay attention. You may wonder why I sound so urgent, why there is no softness in this call. Understand this, my child. When a fire is approaching, love does not whisper. When danger is near, love does not wait for a better moment. Love raises its voice, not in anger, but in desperation to protect. I would rather unsettle you now than watch you suffer later. I would rather interrupt your comfort than attend your regret. You have prayed for answers. You have asked for clarity. You have begged me to speak. And now that I am speaking plainly, the temptation will be to doubt, to question, to minimize. Do not make the mistake of demanding a sign and then ignoring it because it does not come wrapped in the form you expected. This is the answer. This is the warning. This is the lifeline extended before the fall. There are things you must stop doing, and things you must start doing, and things you must release immediately if you want to be protected in what is coming. Delay will feel harmless until it becomes costly. Disobedience will feel small until it becomes a pattern. Indifference will feel peaceful until it becomes emptiness. I am calling you now because you still have time to choose differently, to turn, to realign, to step back into safety. Type I am fully covered by your grace if you believe He's your unfailing protector. Do not assume you are exempt. Do not believe that because nothing has collapsed yet, nothing will. Many people thought the same thing. They felt secure right up until the moment everything changed. Security without obedience is an illusion. Peace without truth is fragile. I want more for you than survival. I want preservation, restoration, and life in fullness. But those things require listening when I speak, especially when my voice carries urgency. You may feel fear rising as you listen. That fear is not from me, but the awareness that something matters more than you realized. Let that awareness sharpen you, not paralyze you. Let it move you toward action, not denial. I am not calling you to despair. I am calling you to wake up. I am calling you to choose wisely while you still can. Stay with me. Do not scroll away. Do not close your heart. Do not talk yourself out of obedience. This moment was arranged with precision, and it carries weight because your future is involved. What you do with this warning will echo forward in ways you cannot yet see. I am giving you this chance because I love you, because I see what lies ahead, and because I refuse to remain silent while there is still hope. Listen now. Pay attention now. Respond now. This cannot wait. My child, listen to me now. Not later. Not when you feel calmer. Not when you feel ready. Not when life slows down and gives you permission. This message exists now because the time you believe you still have is not as wide as it once was. I am not speaking to you from a distance, and I am not speaking casually. I am leaning into this moment with urgency because something has shifted, and silence will no longer protect you the way it once did. What you have ignored before, you can no longer afford to overlook. What you delayed before, you can no longer safely postpone. I am speaking now because the narrowing has begun, and every choice you make from this point forward carries more weight than you realize. You must understand this clearly. Time has narrowed. Doors that once stayed open without effort are beginning to close quietly. Opportunities that lingered are now moving. The season where you could remain undecided without consequence is ending. I am not saying this to alarm you, but to awaken you. There was a time when hesitation was absorbed by grace, when indecision was cushioned by patience. That season is fading. Not because I am less merciful, but because what is ahead requires clarity, alignment, and response. I cannot carry you forward while you stand still pretending nothing is changing. This message exists now because what is coming will not wait for you to feel comfortable. It will not pause while you gather courage. It will not slow itself to match your pace if you choose distraction over obedience. I see the path ahead with perfect clarity, and I see where delay leads. I see where silence leads. I see what happens when you scroll past warnings and call them exaggeration. That is why I speak now. That is why I have pierced through your routine and interrupted your moment. This is not coincidence. This is not luck. This is mercy reaching you before consequences do. You did not find this message by accident. Algorithms did not lead you here. Chance did not place these words in front of your eyes. I allowed you to see this because I am extending protection, not punishment. Rescue, not condemnation. You are not here because you are better than others, but because you are willing to feel the weight of truth when it presses against your heart. Many saw the same moment and passed it by. Many felt the nudge and silenced it. Many sensed urgency and drowned it out with noise. But you stayed long enough to hear. Alone tells me something about you. You not mistake mercy for harmlessness. Mercy warns. Mercy interrupts. Mercy raises its voice when danger is near. If you ignore mercy, you do not avoid consequences, you only delay awareness of them. Distraction does not make danger disappear. Delay does not cancel outcomes. Scrolling away does not reset the moment. What you do with this warning will matter, even if you try to forget it. Truth has a way of returning, often at a higher cost than before. You have believed that staying quiet would keep you safe. You have thought that avoiding confrontation, avoiding decision, avoiding response would preserve peace. But silence will no longer protect you. In the season ahead, silence will be interpreted as consent. Neutrality will no longer shield you. What you refuse to address will begin to address you. What you refuse to confront will grow. What you avoid now will demand attention later, often in harsher ways. I am calling you before that happens. I see how easy it would be for you to leave right now. I see the impulse to scroll, to minimize, to tell yourself this is not that serious. I know how quickly the mind looks for an escape when truth feels heavy. But understand this. Leaving now is not a neutral action. Walking away is a choice. Ignoring is a decision. Delay is a direction. Every movement of your attention either draws you closer to safety or further from it. There is no standing still in moments like this. This message exists now because you are standing at a narrowing place. Two paths are still available, but not for long. One path leads to alignment, protection, clarity, and life. The other leads to slow erosion, confusion, and loss you will not see coming until it arrives. I am not exaggerating. I am not dramatizing. I am telling you what I see from a vantage point you do not have. My love for you is the reason I refuse to soften this. Please support our channel. Our work is focused on bringing happiness into your life and helping you grow in devotion to God. If you wish to support us, you can donate through Super Thanks. You have been telling yourself there is more time. You have been saying later, when things settle, later, when I have strength, later, when I understand more. But later is becoming a dangerous word. Later has already cost you things you did not notice slipping away. Sensitivity, peace, focus, discernment, hunger for truth. These do not disappear suddenly. They fade when urgency is ignored. And I will not allow you to drift further without warning you plainly. Seeing this message is mercy because I am still giving you the chance to choose differently. Mercy because I am still offering clarity before confusion deepens. Mercy because I am still calling your name before the noise drowns it out completely. Mercy because some consequences can still be prevented if you respond now. Do not despise this mercy by treating it lightly. Do not confuse patience with permission. You are not being singled out to be frightened. You are being singled out to be protected. I see pressures forming around you. I see influences tightening. I see patterns trying to reassert control. I see the enemy counting on your fatigue, your distraction, your tendency to postpone what feels uncomfortable. And I am stepping in now because if I wait, the cost to extract you will be greater. I would rather warn you early than rescue you painfully later. This is why distraction matters. This is why delay matters. This is why scrolling away matters. Because moments like this are not repeated endlessly. When truth knocks and is ignored, it does not always knock again in the same way. Sometimes it returns louder. Sometimes it returns through loss. Sometimes it returns through pain. I do not want that for you. I want you to respond while response is still gentle. You may feel resistance rising in you. You may feel fear, annoyance, doubt, even irritation. That does not mean this is not from me. Often, the strongest resistance appears when truth threatens to break patterns that have felt safe, but were slowly destroying you. Comfort does not equal safety. Familiar does not equal good. Silence does not equal peace. I am calling you out of false calm and into real security. Listen carefully. What you do after hearing this will shape the next season of your life. Not dramatically in appearance at first, but deeply in effect. Alignment now will save you from loss later. Obedience now will spare you confusion later. Attention now will protect you from regret later. I am not asking for perfection. I'm asking for response. I am not demanding that you understand everything. I am asking that you trust me enough to stay, to listen, to not turn away when it matters most. This message exists now because the hour requires it. The narrowing has begun. The margins are shrinking. The space for indifference is closing. And I love you too much to let you pass through this moment unaware. Stay with me. Let me finish speaking. Let me guide you while the path is still visible. This is rescue. This is mercy. And it is happening now, because now is when it still matters. My child, I need you to hear this with your spirit, not just your ears. You are closer to collapse than you realize, and the danger is not loud, not dramatic, not violent. That is why you have not recognized it. You are not standing on the edge of obvious destruction. You are standing in the quiet erosion that happens when vigilance fades and discernment grows dull. This is not about your body failing or your life visibly falling apart. This is about something far more subtle and far more dangerous. The slow weakening of your inner life, the gradual numbing of your heart, the quiet drifting away from the place where you once heard me clearly and responded quickly. You have assumed that because nothing is visibly broken, everything must be fine. You wake up, you function, you complete your routines, you meet expectations, and you call this stability. But stability without alignment is fragile. Comfort without truth is deceptive. There is a kind of peace that is not peace at all, only the absence of conflict because nothing meaningful is being challenged. That is the peace you have been resting in, and it has cost you more than you know. The danger you face is invisible because it does not announce itself. It does not crash into your life. It settles in. It whispers, "You're fine," when you are slowly losing sensitivity. It says there's no rush, while your calling is being delayed and your purpose is being dulled. It says, "This is normal," while your hunger for me is shrinking and your tolerance for compromise is growing. This is how collapse begins, not with disaster, but with comfort. I see how routine has wrapped itself around you like a blanket. The same patterns, the same habits, the same distractions, the same ways of numbing discomfort. You tell yourself this is just life, just how things are now. But routine has become a hiding place, and comfort has become a sedative. You no longer notice what you once would have felt immediately. Conviction has softened into mild discomfort. Discernment has faded into vague unease. Where you once responded quickly, you now delay. Where you once obeyed, you now negotiate. This is not because you are evil or rebellious. It is because you are tired, and the enemy knows how to exploit fatigue. He does not need to push you into obvious sin. He only needs to keep you comfortable enough to stay passive. He does not need to destroy you in one moment. He is content to steal from you slowly, quietly, piece by piece, while you remain unaware of the loss. Understand this clearly. The enemy works quietly because quiet theft is rarely noticed. He does not arrive with chaos when silence will do. He does not bring storms when sleep is more effective. He dulls your urgency. He blurs your focus. He convinces you that nothing is wrong because nothing feels urgent. And while you rest, he erodes. You are closer to spiritual collapse than you think because your discernment has been numbed. You no longer sense danger the way you once did. You no longer feel the sharp check in your spirit when something is off. You rationalize what you should resist. You tolerate what you should confront. You postpone what you should address immediately. This is not growth. This is drift. You are closer to emotional collapse than you realize because you have learned to manage pain instead of healing it. You keep yourself busy. You distract yourself. You soothe yourself with temporary comforts. But unresolved wounds do not disappear. They wait. They leak into your relationships, your decisions, your reactions. You find yourself reacting more than responding, withdrawing more than engaging, feeling numb where you once felt alive. This is not peace. This is self-protection masquerading as strength. You are closer to relational collapse than you think because false peace has replaced honest connection. You avoid difficult conversations. You suppress truth to keep harmony. You choose silence to avoid discomfort. But relationships built on avoidance slowly rot from the inside. What is not addressed becomes resentment. What is not spoken becomes distance. What is not healed becomes a barrier you pretend is not there. And one day, the gap is too wide to cross without pain. You are closer to destiny collapse than you realize because delay has become a habit. You know there are things I have called you to do, steps you have been prompted to take, changes you have been urged to make. But you keep telling yourself you will respond when the time feels right. Meanwhile, the fire that once burned brightly has dimmed. Passion has softened into nostalgia. Vision has faded into memory. Destiny does not vanish overnight. It fades when it is ignored. This is how everything is stolen solely, not by force but by consent, not by attack but by apathy, not by hatred but by comfort. The enemy does not need you to reject me. He only needs you to delay me. He does not need you to turn away. He only needs you to stop moving forward. I see how you have mistaken calm for safety. You have told yourself that because nothing dramatic is happening, nothing dangerous is happening. But the most dangerous threats are often the quiet ones. A body does not collapse because of one missed breath, but because of long-term neglect. A structure does not fall because of one crack, but because of erosion that went unaddressed. A soul does not collapse because of one decision, but because of 1,000 small compromises justified as harmless. You have grown used to living just below fullness. You have accepted a version of life that functions but does not flourish. You remember what it felt like to be sharp, alive, responsive, deeply connected. You remember it faintly, like something from another season. And instead of mourning that loss, you normalized it. You told yourself this is just maturity, just adulthood, just reality. But it is not. It is a warning sign. The invisible danger is that you no longer notice what you are losing. Sensitivity to my voice, quickness to repent, boldness to obey, hunger for truth, joy that is not dependent on circumstances. These things do not vanish loudly. They fade quietly while you remain busy surviving. Say the Lord himself is my mighty shield if he's guarding every corner of your heart. I am not speaking to shame you. I am speaking to wake you. You are not beyond rescue, but you are closer to loss than you think. And the longer you remain comfortable, the harder it becomes to recognize danger. That is why I am interrupting you now. That is why I am speaking plainly. Because if this continues unchecked, the collapse will not feel sudden to you. It will feel confusing. You will wake up one day and wonder how you got so far from where you started. Do not underestimate the power of small neglect. Do not assume that because you are not falling apart, you are safe. You can be functional and still be drifting. You can be stable and still be eroding. You can be calm and still be in danger. I want you to see what is happening before it costs you more. I want you to recognize the quiet strategies that work against you. I want you to understand that comfort has numbed you, routine has dulled you, and false peace has lulled you. But awareness is the first step back to safety. Light exposes what silence hides. You are not powerless here. But you must stop mistaking stillness for security. You must stop equating absence of crisis with health. You must stop assuming that slow loss is harmless. I am calling you now because this is the moment when collapse can still be prevented, when erosion can still be addressed, when discernment can still be restored. Listen to me. Stay alert. Do not dismiss this as exaggeration. This is love telling you the truth while there is still time to respond. My child, I will tell you plainly why most will ignore this message, even as it speaks directly to their condition, even as it reaches them at the exact moment they need it. It is not because they did not hear. It is because hearing requires humility, and humility is costly. Pride closes ears long before truth finishes speaking. Pride convinces the heart that warnings are meant for someone else, that urgency is exaggeration, that correction is unnecessary. Pride whispers, "I am fine," even when the foundation is cracking. And so many will dismiss this message not because it lacks truth, but because it threatens the image they have built of themselves as self-sufficient, in control, and above correction. Disbelief will also blind them. Not disbelief in my existence, but disbelief that I still intervene, still warn, still speak with urgency. They have grown accustomed to treating my words as concepts instead of commands, inspiration instead of instruction. They believe truth should always feel gentle, never confrontational, never demanding. When truth arrives with weight, when it presses instead of comforts, they label it extreme, manipulative, or unnecessary. Disbelief allows them to distance themselves emotionally while convincing themselves they are still spiritually aware. Fear of change will keep many from listening fully. They sense, deep within, that if they take this message seriously, something will have to shift. Something will need to be surrendered. A habit, a relationship, a pattern, a false sense of safety, and fear rises at the thought of losing what is familiar, even if it is slowly destroying them. They prefer predictable pain over uncertain freedom. They would rather remain trapped in known discomfort than step into transformation that requires trust. So they close their hearts not because they do not understand, but because they are afraid of what obedience would cost them. Addiction to comfort is one of the strongest forces keeping people from responding to divine urgency. Comfort dulls awareness. It convinces the soul that nothing must change as long as life remains manageable. Comfort trains people to avoid anything that disrupts their peace, even when that peace is false. They scroll past discomfort. They mute conviction. They surround themselves with voices that affirm rather than challenge. And when a message like this confronts them, it threatens the very comfort they have built their lives around. So they reject it, not because it is wrong, but because it is inconvenient. Resistance to correction runs deeper than most realize. Correction requires acknowledgement of error, and acknowledgement threatens ego. Many would rather reinterpret truth than repent. They would rather debate than obey. They would rather analyze the message than apply it. They look for flaws, tone issues, reasons to discredit, anything that allows them to remain unchanged while feeling justified. Correction feels like loss to those who do not yet understand that it is actually protection. This is why ignoring divine urgency has always been humanity's greatest downfall. From the beginning, people have ignored warnings because they did not align with their desires. They dismissed urgency because judgment seemed far away. They delayed obedience because consequences did not arrive immediately. They mistook patience for approval and silence for absence. And history repeated itself again and again. The pattern never changes. Warning comes. Delay follows. Consequences arrive. And regret comes too late to prevent loss. My child, understand this clearly. Ignoring truth does not stop consequences. It only postpones awareness of them. You cannot scroll past reality. You cannot delay outcomes indefinitely. You cannot silence truth without cost. The consequences of ignoring divine urgency are not always immediate, which is why so many are deceived. They assume that because nothing happened right away, nothing will. But consequence is not always sudden. It is often cumulative. It builds quietly, layer by layer, until the weight becomes too heavy to ignore. Many will ignore this message because they believe they are exempt. They think warnings are for the broken, the immoral, the obvious failures. They do not realize that the greatest danger often lies with those who appear stable, functional, and successful. Pride convinces them they are above collapse. Comfort convinces them they are safe. Routine convinces them they are grounded. And all the while, erosion continues unseen. Others will ignore this message because it threatens their narrative. They have constructed a version of themselves that cannot be questioned. They have invested years in justifying their choices, explaining away their delays, defending their compromises. To listen now would require admitting that some of those choices were wrong, that some delays were costly, that some compromises were dangerous. That realization is painful, and many would rather protect their narrative than their future. Some will ignore this message because they are tired, not physically but spiritually. They are weary of introspection, weary of conviction, weary of being called higher. They won't rest, but they seek it in avoidance instead of surrender. They mistake numbness for peace and disengagement for healing. And when urgency reaches them, it feels like a burden instead of a lifeline. They do not realize that ignoring the call will only deepen their exhaustion. Others will ignore it because they are distracted. Their attention is fragmented, their minds overloaded, their hearts divided. They have trained themselves to consume quickly, react briefly, and move on immediately. They are uncomfortable with sustained focus, deep reflection, or prolonged conviction. A message like this requires stillness, honesty, and courage. Distraction offers escape from all three. Some will ignore it because they fear being wrong, admitting that they should have listened sooner, acted earlier, or changed course is uncomfortable. It challenges their self-image as wise, discerning, and aware. So they choose denial over humility. They tell themselves they will address it later, when they can do so without admitting error. But later rarely comes. My child, do not follow the pattern of the many. Truth has never been embraced by the majority. Urgency has always been dismissed by those who benefit from delay. Warnings have always been mocked until they were fulfilled. The fact that most will ignore this is not evidence that it is false. It is evidence that it is costly. I am not asking you to judge those who ignore this. I am asking you not to join them. Learn from history instead of repeating it. Recognize the traps that prying, comfort, fear, and resistance set. Understand that truth does not adjust itself to human preference. It stands, whether acknowledged or not. Type "I trust God's perfect timing" if you believe delay is only preparation, not denial, and share this video.